Hello everyone, and welcome back to my Let's Play of An English Haunt. Last time, we finally gained access to the haunted building, witnessed an apport, and gained access to the dressing room of Madame Shaw, a medium who was a friend of our missing colleague Professor Wu. And we also saw Harry Houdini try to debunk Shaw's performance, but Shaw had a better grip on the audience than Houdini would imagine. So let's examine Shaw's place as we are waiting for her. Beatrice Shaw is about to arrive. I don't have time to search the drawers without being caught. Okay. I can barely see my reflection. Everything is cluttered with fan letters and a couple of photographs of Miss Shaw with Henry Irving and Thomas Hardy. Flowers. There is a note from Richard West. It says, "We are making a fortune, Beatrice." For God's sake, Oliver. Didn't you know Houdini was in town? Yes, I did. I did not expect him to attend the show. That scoundrel is determined to disrupt the work of mediums. He's obsessed. It won't happen again, Beatrice. I promise. Don't worry. Luckily, I know how to deal with these kind of people. Patrick Moore. It's about time I finally met you. Do you know who I am, Miss Shaw? Oh, of course. And let's dispense with formalities. Call me Beatrice. Nelson has told me a lot about you. In fact, he never stops talking about you. Let's cut to the chase, Beatrice. Do you know where Professor Ward is? At this hour? At the university, I suppose. You should know better. No, he isn't there. Well, where is he then? I was hoping you could tell me. One moment. Have I missed something? Professor Ward has absconded with a significant sum of money from a donation to the university. Nobody knows where he is. Nelson, a thief! Impossible. He doesn't care about money. Why would he do such a thing? I wonder the same. I'll ask again. Do you know where I can find him? Ease your tone with me, young man. I don't know what you're insinuating, but I am as confused by the news as you are. I'm sorry. It's been a very tough day. First, I find out my colleague is a thief. Then, the board expresses its desire to shut down the Department of Metapsychical Research if I don't prove the existence of the afterlife in 72 hours. To top it off, my fiancée has broken ties with me, I've been kicked out of my own house, and all my money has been frozen in the bank. I'm a nervous wreck, so permit me some vehemence. Oh, I'm so sorry. But believe me when I say, I have no idea where Nelson is. You were seen with him at the Red Lion? And you thought I was his accomplice, did you? Your informant never considered that we were just two old friends having a pint at our usual haunt. The Red Lion is the perfect place for me to go unnoticed. They're too drunk to recognize me. What's your relationship with the professor? Are you lovers? No. Nelson has never shown interest in romantic relationships. I have no interest in Ben either. We've been lifelong friends. We grew up together in Whitby. We have hardly been apart ever since. The professor never spoke of you. We're talking about Nelson, so does it really surprise you? I admit, we basically only talked about professional matters. I gave up on him talking about his personal life. Don't blame yourself. I have to be very persuasive to get him to talk about anything other than metapsychics. Nelson lives in his own world. He never wanted to be diagnosed, but I think he has early onset hebephrenia. I suppose that's why he's seen as an eccentric person. Let me check what hebephrenia is. Alright, hebephrenia is a kind of schizophrenia which doesn't have hallucinations, but includes disorganized thinking and dulled emotional responses, as well as flat affectations to speech. That would explain a lot. But he's the most upright and honest person I know. So all this talk of theft and flight has me baffled. Something smells fishy about this. I do not believe you have psychic powers. You are right to think that, because I do not have such powers. It's all a charade, as that buffoon Houdini pointed out. My calling is scientific, Patrick. My dream has always been to pursue science, but they wouldn't let me into university. A place exclusive to men. Everything is exclusive to men in this rotten society. I had to be self-taught, and I have become a good scientist. What kind of scientist? Science isn't one thing. But damn it, I can't prove it. I find it curious that, as a scientist, you have no qualms about what you do. I take money from those who hindered my professional career. I've managed to amass a fortune at their expense. As far as I'm concerned, I have a clear conscience. I'm worried about Nelson. He must have been coerced into doing what he did. It's not like him. I refuse to believe it. Do you have any clues as to where we can find him? No. Every lead I've followed regarding his whereabouts has led me to you. Oh. Have you checked if he is in his workshop? Ah. What workshop? He never told you about it, I see. Does he have a secret workshop? Secret wouldn't be the word. He would simply forget to mention it. You know how he is. Like a box of surprises indeed. Nelson wanted me to have a spare key to the place. I have it stored in that drawer. Will you come with me? Don't you have a function next? My best friend has gone missing. The last thing I care about is entertaining a bunch of rich folks. So let's go, and not waste any time. Well, at least we have some progress. You look tired. Why don't you take a nap? I'll let you know when we are about to arrive. I'm alright, not to worry. I won't insist. What's your story, Patrick? Excuse me? Both you and the professor are obsessed with finding out what lies beyond death. An admirable passion. Both of you would give anything to know the truth. So tell me, where does this interest come from? I saw a ghost when I was a child. Interesting. It was my little brother. He died of polio when I was 9 years old. Oh, I'm so sorry, Patrick. I can't imagine how hard it must have been for you. It was, Beatrice. It was. It happened on the night of his funeral. I heard footsteps in the hallway that startled me. They were heading towards the room Cedric and I shared. At first, I thought those steps belonged to one of my parents. But it didn't sound like their walk. It sounded like Cedric's walk. Polio had deformed his right leg. His gait was distinctive. I jumped out of bed, opened the door to the hallway, and it was him. His face was contorted in a perpetual grimace of agony and pain. He was bumping into walls with violence. He was banging his head against the door frames, as if something was eating him up inside, and he was trying to get rid of the pain. It must have been terrible. So horrible that I couldn't bear it and left it. I never told my parents. Would they have believed me? I doubt it. Neither did I want to cause them any more pain than they were already enduring. But what I saw was real. It was not a hallucination or a dream. There's no one in the world who can convince me otherwise. For years, I've been obsessed not only with the fact that we can see the material world, but also with what is happening to these poor souls. I don't buy into those benevolent stories of ghosts appearing to their loved ones to bid farewell. What I usually do in my show, yes. Pure fantasy, I'm with you. If we go back to ancient times, the figure of the ghost has always been stern. Ghosts have been feared since the dawn of time. Why are they used in literature as a cheating element? Why does the world itself have that terrifying? Why does the word itself have that terrifying connotation? They are loved ones, right? It should be cause for celebration and hope that they visit us after death, and that we can contact them. As with visions of angels or virgins. No one was scared of the apparitions at Lord's in 1858. Exactly. Cedric's appearance was of a different nature. It conveyed anger, pain, aggressiveness. It was the very embodiment of terror. Something happens to us when we pass to the other side. I want to know what it is. Can't bear the thought of my little brother, who suffered in life, also suffering in death. He doesn't deserve it. No one deserves to end up like that. Most religions assure us that eternal peace awaits us after death. Rubbish. They're wrong. Do you want to hear my story? Of course, go ahead. Nelson and I witnessed a similar apparition when we were children. It was at St. Mary's Church in Whitby. There were rumors that strange noises were heard in the church some nights. The parish priest denied it, but everyone knew something was happening there. The village elders talk about the ghost of a former prior who roamed the church at night. We have always been passionate about these issues. And like the good rascals we were, we snuck into the church one night, went to see a ghost. Childhood fantasies, you know? We sat on one of the benches closest to the exit, just in case. We were there in the dark, over 3 hours with nothing happening. But suddenly, we saw the benches near the altar starting to move on the road. A dark silhouette materialized and began pushing the benches with violence while approaching us. We heard its voice, but we couldn't interpret what it was saying. Its tone denoted anger. That scared us more than its mere presence. I don't know how we overcame the fear, but we managed to get out of there. That same night, we promised to dedicate our lives to studying this phenomenon. Did you become a researcher? Oh yes. Most of my life has been dedicated to research with Nelson. But we didn't succeed. Nelson had support as a forensic scientist, and later as a professor at the university. He could afford something as basic as living. I needed money. Research in this field was a guarantee of starving to death. And we weren't achieving great results either. So I put aside the investigations and became Beatrice Shaw, a great medium. Nelson didn't take it very well, although he never stopped informing me of all his progress. The last night we met at the Red Lion, he told me that he found an ideal place to investigate. Number 34, Benwell Street. Yes, I've been there. I managed to contact an entity. Are you serious? Nelson was right. We have to go back there and conduct a thorough investigation. Those idiots who want to shut down the department will have no choice but to eat their words. Oh, we're arriving. Hopefully, we will find Nelson sleeping soundly in the workshop, unaware of all that's happening. Professor? There seems to be no one there. Let me try. Nelson, you fool! Open this blasted door. All of London is looking for you. You have a key, just open it. I'll open it. He's not here. We should search the laboratory. Maybe there is something that will give us a clue to his whereabouts. Good idea. I think the light switch is nearby. Where? Ah, here it is. Let there be light. Let's turn this place upside down. Alright. Great developments. It looks like a high-powered electric generator. Why would the professor need such wattage? This box is full of technical drawings. I'll take a closer look. Oh, it can be. Beatrice, what have you found? Come take a look at this. Come take a look at this. Is this what I think it is? The box of revelations. Nelson couldn't stop talking about it. High-tech machinery that can reveal the hidden. A real-time viewer of the beyond. A fantasy. We theorized a lot about this device. But we gave up when we assumed it was impossible to build it with existing technology. However, from what I see, yes, it seems the professor found the key. If we connect... Oh my god! Of course! It could work. Take a close look at this document. I read, designed by Professor Nelson Wood and Professor Patrick Moore. Yes, the core part of this machine is based on my electromagnetic waves. Thanks to it, I've been able to contact Thomas Highmore at the old Benwell Street house. There are several names associated with parts of the machine. Let's take a look. One of the pieces would fit into a side spring. Eugene Wood. Does that name ring a bell? He is a renowned photographer, specializing in post-mortem images. Modern portraits. Photographs of the deceased for their family's remembrance. I find it a distasteful practice. I hope they do not photograph me like that when I die. In fact, I have stated in my will that I want to be cremated and emptied down some drain. I hope my last wish is fulfilled. I think that piece is a photographic plate. One of the functions of the Box of Revelations is to visually record the surroundings. Lawrence Cook. That tube is meant to contain ectoplasm, correct? You're right. Since ectoplasm is the materialization of certain elements from the beyond, we have theorized that, if treated and enhanced, it could be a strong conduit for displaying that invisible reality. But Lawrence Cook? She's an even more fraudulent medium than you, if I may be so bold. Lawrence Cook would manifest an entity called Katie King to her body. And yes, it was proven to be a fraud. And the professor knew it. That's why I'm concerned about entrusting the collection of ectoplasm to Florence Cook. And this here, it's a geometric figure. This place is intended for the machines generated. For the Box of Revelations to be autonomous, we need significant power. We conducted several tests, synthesizing and miniaturizing various generators. We were unsuccessful. It was one of the reasons why we couldn't carry out the project. However, it seems that Nelson found an alternative. But I don't know what that figure could be. Professor Silas Bennett. Who are we talking about? Silas Bennett is a reputable yet eccentric archaeologist. He spends much of his time searching for artifacts out of time, and this has led to a rather dubious reputation. Artifacts out of time, out of place and time. UPARTs. That's what they call them. It's an acronym for Out of Place Artifact. Fascinating. The Box of Revelations is a reality. It can be made. With those 3 missing pieces, and relying on the professor's judgment, yes. Do you know what this means, dear friend? Thanks to it, you'll be able to prove to those skeptics on the board that you were right. What am I saying? To those skeptics? To the whole world? Come with me. This device caught my attention, but I didn't know what it was until I saw the plan for the Box of Revelations. Yes, indeed. It appears to be a prototype of sorts. Let's see what you think of my proposal. I've noticed some missing adjustments and some elements that could be improved. I could take care of that while you get the missing pieces. But what about the professor? Should we suspend our search? We are at a dead end. We can waste time wandering around London, or we can save your department and the university. We'll worry about Nelson later. Something tells me he'll show up eventually. Well, what do you say? If the machine works, we can try it at Benville Street. So count on it. Excellent. Let's recap. We need an ectoplasm sample. Nelson pinned his hopes on Florence Cook. I have doubts about this matter. It's well known that Florence Cook was a fraud. It's also well known that Nelson is the most skeptical investigator in all of England. Trust him. Nelson must know something we don't. Alright, where can we find Florence Cook nowadays? She's still conducting spiritualist sessions. She has her cabinet on Luckham Lane. I'll head there. Professor Silas Bennett is the key to making the machine autonomous. An archaeologist, not an engineer. I wonder how he can help us. We'll have to ask him. Do you know where we can locate him? Yes, he has an office at the London Archaeological Society. And last but not least, we have Eugene Wood, photographer. The machine can photographically record its surroundings, and that compartment in it seems designed for a photographic plate. But not just any photographic plate. If it were, Nelson wouldn't have had trouble finding one. I'll pay Bennett a visit, and we'll find out. Very well, Professor Moore. Pay a visit to those people. Meanwhile, I'll work on the machine adjustments. Bring me the pieces as you acquire them. There is no time to waste. Let's get to it. Alright. What else do we have here? I should let Beatrice work. She knows what she's doing. Beatrice? I must thank you for helping me. Quite the contrary, Patrick. I'm the one who's grateful to you. This whole affair has restored my passion for paranormal investigations. This is what I wanted to devote my life to. I feel rejuvenated. And it's all thanks to you and the mess Nelson has gotten himself into. But think about it. We are about to unveil the mysteries that lie beyond death. Aren't you nervous? Yes, of course. I fear for the professor. So do I, my friend. So do I. But for the moment, what can we do? Do you have any ideas? Unfortunately, no. I can't think of anything. Let's occupy our minds with this device. Perhaps we can shed some light on the matter while we work. I was thinking of Benville Street House. Yes, what about it? That is where we should investigate. But there are 3 men guarding it. It's impossible to access it, unless we get rid of them. We'll find a way to investigate there, don't worry. For the time being, let's focus on finishing the machine. Without it, there is no research. I will let you work. Okay. A ladder. If I need a ladder, I'll know where to find it. Professor Ward's famous casuistic archive. We've used to have it in his office. Apparently, he moved it here recently. I spent a lot of time reading its files over and over. Hold on a minute. I think he updated it with 4 new keys. They seem interesting, but I'm not sure if it's a good time to read them. Well, let's read them. The Case of the Sheet Ghost. Sir Clarence Hoffman, the once famous theatrical author, required my services, as he claimed several strange phenomena were happening in his farm. The residence is near Piccadilly, and I will omit the street and number by express desire of this one. Hoffman's tale was that, at midnight, several times already, a figure wandered through the corridors of the house. The story was corroborated by his servant, someone called Fritz Meyer. Miss Hoffman did not want to talk about it. Her husband excused her, explaining that it was hard for her to give any details about the phenomena, as the mere mention of them affected her nerves. Half an hour before midnight, I asked the inhabitants of the house to stay away from the area at the apparition's activity, which is the living. 5 minutes before the clock struck 12. Struck 12? Okay. I stood in a corner of the main corridor so that I could have a wide view. At 12 o'clock, I could see a dancing shadow on the far side of the corridor. I drew close, hiding in the shadows so that I would not draw the attention of the ground, until I realized it was a figure in a sheet with holes for eyes. I pulled the sheet with outrage, but with a bit of curiosity about which member of the household was using such a trite trick to waste my time. Miss Hoffman arrived in a rush when she heard me scolding the German servant, and told me, with an embarrassment that made me sympathetic, that her husband missed the time when he was a regular in the newspapers, a time which, sadly, no one even remembered. Seeing that cases of apparitions featured prominently in the press each day, he plotted so that newspapers would draw their attention to him once more. He asked the servant to disguise himself as a ghost, so that a well-respected metapsychic investigator, that is, me, would confirm this story to give it a luster of authenticity. What Sir Arthur Hoffman didn't count on was the weariness yours truly bears on his back in matters of fraud and deception. I promised that the theatrical author would once again feature in newspapers, this time in the role of a fraudster. But the insistent pleas of Miss Hoffman dissuaded me from taking the story, which she never agreed with, to the press. I'm exhausted. Sometimes I wonder if this is all worth it. The Case of Westminster Abbey. With great secrecy, I was led to Westminster Abbey by request of Bishop Thomas Stevens. I was told that the great organ built by William Hill in 1848 played each night by itself, without human intervention. The sacristan, Anthony Hoyle, suspected the culprit was the ghost of the old organist, with whom they did not end up on good terms, as he was laid off due to his alcoholism. The new organist, Paul Latham, Paul Lethem, showed me what a work of art the instrument is. Bulk of tubes and pistons that extend up to the ceiling. Given my ignorance in these matters, I asked him if it was not possible that the air came through the tubes and made the instrument. He said it would be possible, but not with enough strength to play as loudly as it did during the night. He added that what you could hear was no melody, but a string of distorted notes that would make one's skin bristle. The organist offered a small snack, in the form of an excellent wine and a delicious Swiss cheese, then asked me to attend his rehearsal, so that I could hear for myself the sound of the enormous instrument, and so that he could brag about his skill with the keyboard. He was finished, and he asked me how I liked the piece he just played. I do not know a lot about the music, so the only thing I told him was that he had some chunks of cheese in his pushy beat. He left it, and I do not blame him. I'm aware that my social abilities leave much to be desired. I miss Patrick. My colleague knows how to connect with his fellow men. Does he? So far, Patrick's been a disaster who antagonized everyone he met. In the early hours during my watch, I was sitting in one of the seats close to the organ, when I heard a cacophony emanating from the instrument. They were right. No one was at the keyboard. The acoustics of the place made the sound resonate throughout the room, making anyone who heard it anxious to some degree. Thinking I would finally catch ghost, I drew near the organ, and could see a tiny mouse running along the keys, eating the bits of Swiss cheese that laid on. The organist received an ultimatum. Either he stopped eating cheese before rehearsing, or he shaved off his beard. He opted for the latter. Pa, pa, pa. The case of the voices from beyond. Brian Stewart, a renowned psychiatrist and follower of Jean-Martin Champeau, is a busy man reluctant to waste time writing up his research file. To streamline this process, he uses a phonograph to record his notes for his assistant to transcribe later. He sought my help because strange, distant voices mysteriously appeared on one of the cylinders. Stewart played the recording for me, and after a brief silence of 2 or 3 seconds, I could hear them. They were nonsensical phrases. Some whispered. Occasionally, a word in Latin would emerge after a long silence. After a long silence, the voice of the psychiatrist would resume dictation for his assistant. While it's uncommon for indeterminate voices to manifest on a sound recording, this phenomenon is known as EVP, electronic voice phenomenon. I suggested an experiment to Stuart, leaving the phonograph alone in a room to record ambient sounds in the hope of capturing those voices again. We tried this, but the device picked up nothing. I speculated that the phenomenon might only occur in the psychiatrist's presence. So we repeated the experiment with Stuart speaking directly into the phonograph while I observed from a corner of the room. The esteemed psychiatrist, to avoid wasting another cylinder, used the recording to dictate notes on a case he has been working on for a few weeks. He spoke continuously for several minutes, until he abruptly stood up, pacing the room, and whispering random phrases and paraphrasing lines from the book De Secretis Mulierum, oddly in Latin. I approached him and could see that he was in a semi-catatonic state. Another researcher might have concluded that the man was under possession of an entity from the beyond. But I am a professional. I examined him and confirmed that he exhibited all the symptoms of schizophrenia. I feel sorry for him, but I regret even more not having heard a real EVP. And the case of the haunted attic. Miss M is a humble flower seller from Covent Garden, struggling to support her family, including 3 children and a husband unable to find her. Just a week ago, their greedy landlord raised the rent to an unaffordable amount. The family of 5 had to move to a small, dilapidated house on Cabot Street, previously occupied by an elderly couple who passed away a week before Miss M arrived. During their first nights in the place, they heard 3 metallic knocks coming from the attic. Miss M investigated, but couldn't find the source of the sound. Frightened, they sought my service, in this strange occurrence. That same night, I went to their hall and waited downstairs for the knocks to happen again. As expected, 3 metallic knocks echoed from the attic floor. Went up, accompanied by a terrified Miss M, but found nothing there. However, 3 large boxes stacked in a corner caught my attention. When I shone my lamp behind them, I was shocked to see a sight that will haunt me forever. A man, around 40 years old, emaciated, chained to the wall by his ankles, devoid of tongue, eyes, and ears, surrounded by filth. Despite his condition, he somehow sensed my presence and struck the floor with a blade 3 times. Neighbors later identified this unfortunate soul as the son of the elderly couple, unseen since he was 15. It seems he had been living in that attic in such a deplorable state all those years. The reason for his horrific punishment by his own parents remains a mystery. But there is one thing I know for sure. The living are more to be feared than the dead. That's pretty messed up. Well, so much for the casuistic archive. All he has is bullshit. The shelf is full of tools, but I don't see anything that would help. Well, alright then. This is where we will end today's episode, and tomorrow we will continue our investigation by finding the parts for the machine. Thank you for watching, everyone, and have a good day. Goodbye.